It's June, so you know what that means, right? That means it's Pride Month, one of my most favoritist, yet exhausting months of the year. This is also the month that we celebrate Juneteenth, okay? So that means the entire month is going to be Black, Brown, and Queer. I want to take this moment, though, and say that if you are not an ally, if you are not a supporter of the LGBTQIA+, especially that T, I'm going to ask you to exit stage right and unfollow me, okay? Now, yes, you are entitled to your own opinion. Be blessed. But I'm going to ask you again to exit stage right, or is it stage left? Either way, exit and unfollow me. Thank you. Okay. Now, before we get started on today's discussion, let's do a little defining of terms. Okay. We will start with transgender. Transgendered individuals are those whose gender expression do not match their gender identity. Okay, their gender identity, how they feel, how they are, who they know they are on the inside, does not match the gender expression, does not match what they were assigned at birth. Okay, so a trans woman was assigned male at birth. A trans man was assigned female at birth. Okay. Their expression, how they look on the outside, does not match who they are, who they know they are on the inside. Okay? Now, trans people tend to, not always, so let's say some transgendered individuals experience gender dysphoria, and that's the conflict between gender expression, external, and gender identity, internal. Okay? Now, some transgendered people choose to transition, some choose not to. Some only go as far as changing their clothes, while some take hormones, and still others will go through surgery. It all depends on who they are, what they want, how they feel. Okay? I also want to take a minute and explain to you that gender identity inside is not the same as sexual orientation. They're not the same. Gender identity, one more time, gender identity is not the same as sexual orientation. Transgendered individuals can be straight, can be gay, can be lesbian, can be bisexual, asexual, or none of your business sexual. Okay? I wanted to clarify. Okay. We're also going to define transphobia. Transphobia is the discrimination of and negative attitudes towards transgendered people based on their gender expression. Okay. Now, let's get into our discussion. We will be discussing transmisogyny and transmisogynoir. Okay. Now, transmisogyny and transmisogynoir are housed under the umbrella of transphobia, only this time it focuses on trans women and femme-presenting individuals. Okay? Now, misogyny, we talked about misogyny. We said that misogyny is the hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against women. Okay? So then that would mean that transmisogyny is the hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against trans women or femme-presenting individuals. Okay? Now, transmisogyny reflects a hatred of those who do not easily fit into either side of the gender binary. The gender binary being male and female. Okay? Now, misogynoir, we talked about that one as well. Did a whole series, right? Misogynoir, we said, is the hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against black women. So that means Transmisogynoir is the hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against black trans women. Okay? Now let's talk intersectionality. Okay? And you remember that term as well. We talked about that too. Did a whole series on it, right? Intersectionality is the different ways that an individual experiences oppression. We said that people experienced oppression based on the different factors that made them who they are, right? And we used black women, black men, and white women as our examples. We said that white women experience sexism. Black men experience racism. Black women experience both sexism and racism, okay? So let's take that down a little bit further. Let's go a little bit further. And let's, for transmisogyny, let's compare white cisgendered women and white transgendered women, okay? Now, white cisgendered women face sexism. White transgendered women face sexism and transphobia. Okay? And when we look at transmisogynoir, right, we're going to compare white trans women to black trans women. Now, white trans women face sexism and transphobia, while black trans women face sexism, racism, and transphobia. Okay? The intersections of who they are and how they experience oppression. So let's talk about how it shows up in life, okay? Racism, sexism, transphobia, all of these are just as pervasive in the LGBTQ community as they are anyplace else. Okay. Now, within the LGBTQIA plus community, when trans women, when femme-presenting individuals share their experiences, queer cisgendered male leaders have too many times dismissed them and accused them of hurting the LGBTQ movement. And this goes all the way back to Marsha P. Johnson when they told her that she could not march in the Pride Parade and then got in their feelings because she found a way anyway. I'm like, how are you going to attempt to silence? How are you going to exclude the black and brown trans women who got you pride? Some of y'all don't even know who those women are, and quite frankly, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed for not knowing how you got where you are and how you got what you get every June. You know, those 3 or 4 days where you sit there and you get drunk and you party. Do you know who gave that to you? And then you turn around and try to exclude them? Something that you are still doing today. Trans women continue to be excluded from many women-only spaces and feminist events. And this goes back to the 70s. Okay? And when transgendered women speak up, some feminists continue to speak out against their very existence, arguing that they are not authentic women and that they are hurting the movement. Does that sound familiar? So we've got the LGBTQ community and the feminists saying that trans women are hurting the community. What I'm hearing is you're sucking up to the white patriarchy and you're trying to get rid of anything or anyone that may upset them. That's what I heard. Now, there was a study on workplace experiences that found that trans women, on average, lose almost 1/3 of their salary, are respected less, and receive more harassment. At the same time, trans men often experience salary raises and greater authority in the workplace. Okay? Now, over half of all LGBTQIA plus homicides were against transgendered women. And trans people experience a disproportionately large number of hate crimes, with trans women experiencing the majority of these crimes. In the United States, the majority of transmisogyny is directed towards trans women of color, hence the term transmisogynoir. Black transgendered people in the United States, they report rates of sexual harassment and assault up to 1.5 times greater than white transgendered people. And as many as 50% of trans women, black trans women, experience sexual assault in their lifetime. In a 2015 report, 47% of black trans women reported being fired, denied a promotion, or not hired in the past year because they were trans. Of known homicides of transgendered people between 2013 and 2018, approximately 92% were trans women, and about 70% were black trans women. 2015 report from the U.S. Transgendered Survey shows that 20% of black trans women were unemployed, and this is 4 times higher than the national rate. And 30% reported an individual income of less than $10,000. 42% of black trans women have reported being homeless at some point in their life. 42%. And 47% have reported being sexually assaulted. 21% of transgendered women and 47% of black transgendered women have experienced incarceration, rates that are much higher than the overall United States population. I do not understand any of the hostility towards transgendered individual. What did they ever do to you? Have they hurt you in a previous lifetime? What'd they do? Except want to exist, want some dignity, want some respect. I know what it is, though. What you do not understand, you fear. And what you fear, you harm. There are states steadily passing laws against transgendered individuals, including transgendered youth. For what? What reason, what logical reason is given for not treating a human being like a human being? Transgendered people just want to be who they really are and then be left alone. It's not that deep. Be who they really are and then be left alone.